One more time, our favorite small group verse in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 14:26. It's where we get the name CorGroups. What then shall we say, brothers and sisters? When you come together, each of you has a hymn or word of instruction, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. Everything must be done so that the church may be built up. This is Paul's experience of the church, and it makes up the three distinctives of CorGroups. A place where we come together as brothers and sisters, what we call bonding as a family. A place where each of us has something to share, what we call bringing something to the table. A place where everything that's done is for the good of the community, what we call building up the church. 2 sessions ago, we covered what it means to bond together as a family. Last session, we talked about bringing something to the table. And this session, we're talking about building up the church. Build language is rich New Testament metaphor that holds a lot of meaning. I'm reminded of Ephesians 4:29, which says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." Which means that the opposite seems to be true as well. Not only can we do things that build others up and build the church, but it's also possible that what we do discourages and tears down others. I remember sitting outside of a conference room in the administration offices of my Christian college. On the other side of the room, waiting for me, was a board that was deciding whether or not I was fit to pursue pastoral ministry. I was worried, and I must have looked worried. I was planning to go in there to confess to those men that I was addicted to nicotine. One of my classmates saw me there and asked what was wrong, and I told them, and they said, "Keith, if God wants you to be a pastor, then even if those mountains get in your way, they'll be thrown into the sea." I was built up, at least enough to walk through the doors and confess my sin. They looked at me, these experienced pastors, professors, and district leaders, and they said, "Keith, this is a first for us." My heart sank. Then they said, "No one has ever done this before. If anything, we respect you more because of your courage today and the seriousness in which you're taking this process. You're not a cookie-cutter Christian, and that's good because we don't have cookie-cutter churches." I walked out of that meeting expecting to be torn down, and again, I was built up. In our time together, as we find the courage to be known by our community, to be wholehearted, and find the courage to change, there will be so many opportunities for us to build each other up or tear each other down. Paul says everything must be done so that the church is built up. Here are 3 ways that you can do that. 1, make time for group. That might come as a surprise to you. Making time for group seems like an odd way to build each other up. Let me tell you what I mean. In general, there are 2 ways that people treat small groups. 1, they come when they have time for group, meaning if there's nothing better going on, I'll go to group, especially if I also happen to feel like it. Or 2, they make time for group even when they don't particularly feel like it. I remember one of my first small group meetings. One of the participants of our group walked up to the door and their kid was on a bicycle. I said, "Did you walk here?" And she said, "Yes, my husband has the car and won't be home from work until late, but I really needed to see people." It was a perfect opportunity for her to stay home and take it easy. Instead, she chose something hard and made time for group. But she did something else. She built up the value of the group and challenged us all to go the extra mile for each other. She honored the group and said, "This is what group means to me." That doesn't mean you can't ever miss group. In fact, no one should ever tear you down for missing or running late or having a conflict. We're a family. We love each other like brothers and sisters. What it does mean is making time for group is a great way to build each other up. 2, encourage each other. Build language is often used right alongside instruction to encourage, like 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. Isaiah prophesied about Jesus and said, "A bruised reed he will not break, a smoldering wick he will not snuff out." Jesus himself said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus was a place of rest, refreshment, and encouragement to all who sought shelter and refuge in him. As followers of Christ and ambassadors of Christ, we should seek the same opportunity. Let's be real. If we're sharing life together, there will be times where we'll share our sin, our struggles, our failures, our fears. And that will be a perfect opportunity to build each other up by encouraging one another. Last one, don't dominate. If Paul's command that everything should be done so the church is built up is to be taken seriously, then it means I'll be careful not to use small group time for myself. This is a difficult one, but it's a recognition that my participation in small group isn't primarily for my own benefit. As a result, I need to think about how my actions and contributions within group time are affecting and building up the group. Sometimes we dominate by distracting or derailing the group from the purpose of the meeting time. Sometimes we dominate simply by taking too much time unnecessarily. Did you know that if there's 10 people in your group and each person takes 5 minutes to answer one question, you'll be 50 minutes through your meeting time by the time you're finished? This will take more work for some than it will for others. But Paul says everything we do should be done so that the church is built up. So we'll be careful not to dominate, derail, or distract our group from the purpose at hand. Now please don't misunderstand me. There will be times when someone in our group has a crisis and they'll need our group to rally around them. That's absolutely what it should be. And this is what we're here for, to be a family, to care for one another, to build each other up. As we meet together, let's make sure that everything we do is for the purpose of building up the group. We do that by making time for each other, encouraging each other, and being sensitive to our time, making sure we're not dominating it. Next session, we'll talk about what our group meetings should look like once these videos are over.